Welcome back to another innovation review. Today we're going to be checking out the F12 from Freego. First, let's talk about the looks. The Freego F12 is an electric scooter, so no surprises, it looks like an electric scooter. Now these are bigger 12-inch tires. Most of the scooters that we've reviewed are either 8-inch or 10-inch, so it does have a slightly bigger vibe to it. As you can tell, it has got plenty of deck space, enough clearance to get over pretty much anything you'd want to take this scooter on, and it does fold. Now in the folded position, it is not a very small folded scooter. Because we've got these big tires and that front suspension, we do get a little bit of an angle with the fold here, but it does fold up to save you some space. The F12 has integrated front lights and rear lights, so it pretty much is the full package as far as an electric scooter goes. Next, let's talk about the motor. The motor we have here is a 500 watt rear hub motor. Now 500 watts is pretty average for a scooter of this size. Now the motor doesn't have that much pep or get up and go in modes 1 and 2, but when you have it in mode 3, it does tend to feel a little bit more sporty. So I found myself riding it around in level 3 pretty much the whole time. And when you get up and go and you do have it in level 3, it does get up to that 21, 22 miles per hour on a flat surface. Next, let's talk about the battery. The battery we have here is a 48 volt, 15.6 amp hour battery, which is surprisingly big for a scooter. I think a lot of the ones that we have reviewed are 10 or less. So the fact that we've got, another 50% battery capacity here is pretty sweet. We put quite a few miles on it, and the battery meter only would dip down a little bit. So as far as the range goes, you are going to get quite a bit of range for an electric scooter on this particular product. And as you can see on the bottom here, the battery is pretty big, so we do, add a little bit of weight to get those extra amp hours. But in my opinion, I think that's worth it. It's not small enough to where I would be like, oh, I wish it was lighter because I'm going to fold this thing up and carry it around in a lot of places. You do have that option, but for me, this is probably something I wouldn't fold up too often. Now, the battery is not removable, so you do have to charge it here on the scooter. Now, there is a cover on the battery port here. Nothing too fancy, but it is going to keep some of that water and dust out of the charging port. Next, let's talk about the brakes. The brake we have here is a mechanical disc brake, and one of the nice things about it is it does have a motor cutoff inhibitor to it, so you're not going to be fighting against the motor if you're holding down the throttle and trying to brake at the same time. As far as stopping power goes, I was able to skid the tires, so I feel like I do have quite a bit of control. Now, if it was going to be going any faster, say 28, 30 miles per hour, I might want hydraulic brakes or even 2 disc brakes, one in the front, one in the rear. But like I said, going 21, 22 miles per hour, this thing stops really well, so I don't have any complaints here. Next, let's talk about the extras. Now, normally I don't comment on bells. However, this bell is surprisingly one of the nicer bells that I've seen come stock. It seemed like it was a little bit more heavy duty. It was loud, it felt sturdy. So yeah, I was just kind of shocked how nice this bell was. The other aspects are going to be the fenders. We've got a fender both on the front tire and the rear. Now, the rear tire doesn't look like it's going to support a whole lot of weight, although if you wanted to throw your foot back there, I think you could if you're sort of just resting it there. But I imagine that's not recommended. As we mentioned in the look section, we do have a front light, and that is going to be integrated into the battery. We also got a rear light that's integrated into the battery. When you pull on the brakes, the rear light is going to illuminate, so just another nice little safety feature here on the scooter. Next, let's talk about who this scooter might be for. As I had mentioned in the beginning, it does fold up, so you do have that flexibility, but because it is a larger scooter, I personally probably wouldn't fold this thing up too much, but you do have that capability there. As far as where you could ride this on the street, you could ride this on some concrete paths, some light dirt paths. Now, I did take it off-roading just a little bit, put it through some dirt, a little bit of that loose sand, and for me, that held up all right, although I probably wouldn't want to go take the scooter and just do backwoods trails or anything like that. We also talked about how the deck is a little bit wider than some of the scooters that we've tested, so if you're somebody who has long feet or you just don't find some of those smaller decked scooters very comfortable, this one's going to have a little bit more room for you to kick around on. And I think that pretty much covers it for most of the specs and how I would see this being used most of the time. So without further ado, let's head outside for the ride test. Power down right over here. And let's go ahead and put it in, I think it's in position 2 now. So it's in position 1, or power level 1, and it goes along about 3 miles per hour. It's very slow. at position number 1. Let's go ahead and put it in position number 2. See what speed that's going to get us up to. About that 9-10 miles per hour. Makes sense. And finally, position number 3. Position number 3. Let's see. All right, we'll go ahead and do position number 3 from basically a standstill here. This is sort of when I feel like we start to feel some real power here. Because, you know, 1 is basically not getting anything from that motor, and 3, it feels like we got a 500 watt motor in there. Whereas I think in 1 and 2, you know, you don't really feel that very much. But yeah, going 21, 22 miles per hour on this thing. The brakes work. Beautiful. Howdy.
Hey, man, be careful now.
Oh, we'll do. As far as maneuverability goes, this thing does have quite a bit of agility to it. I feel like I can do some really good cutting. See if I can bounce around all these dragonflies out here. Yeah, we're just cruising. Again, hitting that 21. See if I can get 22. I'm going into the wind a little bit, I think. But easily hitting that 21 miles per hour. Now, one of the things that's crazy is the battery on this thing is bigger than some of the e-bikes that we review over here. So it's a 15.6 amp hours, I believe. I may have to double check that. I might put that on the screen, but it's a fairly big battery for a scooter. Now, it is a little bit more on the heavy side, so most of that I think is coming from the battery weight. Let's go ahead and get down this hill. Woo! Okay, I got 24 there. Now, as far as the suspension goes, the suspension in the front, I don't know how many millimeters of travel it is. Maybe it's like, I don't know, 30 or 40 would be my guess. I can bottom it out if I push on it real hard, but if you're just riding around, you get a nice feel, especially because we got those pneumatic tires there. And yeah, we're just cruising. Got a really good balance to it. Plenty of foot space down over here. Let's go ahead and take it off road just a little bit. We got 12-inch tires. We should be able to do a little something, kind of on this loose dirt here. Yeah, nice little trail here. It's looking awfully overgrown. So now this is terrain you wouldn't normally take the scooter on, and it's not really handling up to about there. Woo! Doesn't want to peel out a little bit. Again, you really only feel like you're getting power out of here when you've got it in assist level 3. Now the thing is, it does have a kickstart to it, so if you just go on the throttle, it is not going to do that, but you give it a little push and then you're off to the races. How exciting. But once you hit sort of these steeper hills, it's not giving us any more there. So can you do a little off-roading? Yeah, you know, it really didn't handle too bad when it was more on the flat side there with that loose dirt. But once you start getting some hills and stuff like that, it's not going to do too well. We can even pop off on the side here. Cruising in the grass. Yeah, nice and easy. So having the 12-inch tires is pretty nice compared with, I think most of the scooters that we've reviewed over here have been 8 or 10-inch wheels. So it is nice to have something a little bit bigger. But for the most part, I mean, this is a scooter on the, you know, the cheaper side of things, but you are able to cruise around, having a good old time. And yeah, it feels pretty nice. Now there's a couple things I would swap out, like for example, like these grips here, they are not locking, and so, oh look at that, handled that one just fine. And so for that reason, I'd probably swap out the grips. You can find some, you know, locking ergonomic grips, even if you wanted to keep that ergonomic style, and you can just get the half ergonomic grip for this side if you wanted to keep the twist throttle. As you guys know, I'm a fan of the thumb throttles, and so this one's sort of like a whole unit, so I don't know how easy it would be. I'm gonna have to do some soldering and stuff to just swap this out. So on a lot of the e-bikes we'll get that have these twist throttles, it's just simple plug and play sort of business. But with this one, because it is this whole unit here, I don't think that would be an easy thing to just replace. I don't even see like a plug for that, so that's got to go down probably to the controller down here. Now the controller we have in here is 15 amps, so you know that's not crazy, especially if we're talking about e-bikes. That's, you know, 15 amps is sort of on the middle to lower range. Things start to get a little bit more exciting when you hit that, you know, 20 amp mark. Like we had the Snap Cycle R1, and that thing, I think it ships with, it's like in class 2 mode, so it only had 15 amps, and you can go in there and you can adjust it to, you know, to pull 21 amps, and then it's like, oh, okay, this bike's having some power to it. But yeah, let's go ahead and do a braking test on it. We'll just brake right when we get to the shade. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it's about 25 feet or so going full speed. Not bad. It does feel like there's a little bit of play. Like we could probably tighten this up a little bit. And you can see it looks like we've got a little bit of room to play down here too, as far as tightening that up goes. So that might be something I suggest, you know, if you do decide to get this scooter, make sure that your brakes are tight and they're adjusted, because, you know, that's kind of that. Now the nice thing is you do get the motor cut off with it, so you're not, so for example, like I was holding that the whole time when we were doing that braking test, and the nice thing about that is it will cut the power off to the motor, so you're not trying to brake and fight the motor. But you guys know that. You guys know about brake inhibitors, motor cutoff inhibitors. Really some really nice maneuverability with the scooter here. Alright guys, that is going to do it for our review of the F12 from Freego. If you want to know more about them, I'll have a link to their website down below. And if you guys have any questions for me about this scooter or any of the stuff we do here, please leave me a comment down below. I love talking to you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.